In a world where royal protocol typically keeps public displays of affection behind closed doors, one sunny afternoon at a charity polo match would shatter every expectation. The cameras captured something extraordinary. Not just a prince and princess fulfilling their duties, but a husband and wife so genuinely in love that their connection radiated across the polo grounds like sunshine breaking through clouds. What started as a routine royal engagement would become the most talked-about display of authentic romance the British royal family had witnessed in decades. Every stolen glance, every protective gesture, every shared laugh would remind the world that beneath the crowns and formal titles beat the hearts of two people who had found their perfect match. This is the story of how William and Catherine turned a charity polo cup into a love letter written in public, proving that true romance doesn't need grand gestures. Sometimes it just needs genuine hearts brave enough to let their love shine, even when the whole world is watching. The morning sun cast long golden rays across the grounds of Kensington Palace as Catherine stood before her dressing room mirror, carefully considering her outfit choice for the day ahead. Today was different from the usual royal engagements that fill their calendar. Today, William will be playing polo for charity, and she would be there not just as the Princess of Wales, but as his biggest supporter and the woman who had fallen in love with his passion for the sport years before they ever imagined a royal future together. Catherine selected a flowing summer dress in soft blue. The color that William had once mentioned brought out the depth of her eyes. She paired it with comfortable wedge sandals, knowing she would be walking across grass fields, and wanted to feel natural and relaxed. Her stylist suggested a more formal hat, but Catherine chose a simple headband instead. Something told her that today called for authenticity over rigid protocol. Meanwhile, in their shared study, William reviewed the charity information one final time. The Polo Cup was raising funds for three organizations close to their hearts: a children's mental health charity, an environmental conservation group, and a foundation supporting military veterans. These causes represented the couple's shared values and their commitment to making a real difference beyond ceremonial duties. William's phone buzzed with a text from his polo teammates, confirming their arrival time and strategy for the matches. He had been playing polo since his teenage years, finding in the sport not just recreation, but a place where he could be competitive and free. Catherine understood this about him. She had watched him transform on the polo field. His shoulders would relax, his smile would become more natural, and the weight of royal responsibility would seem to lift, even if just temporarily. As William prepared his gear, Catherine appeared in the doorway of their study. She noticed the careful way he arranged his polo mallet, the same focused attention he brought to everything important in his life. This attention to detail was one of the things she had first admired about him during their university days, his ability to be both spontaneous and thoughtful, playful yet responsible. The couple had breakfast together on their private terrace, sharing the morning newspapers and discussing their children's activities for the day. George was at school, Charlotte had a music lesson, and Louis was spending the morning with his grandmother. These quiet moments before public engagements had become precious to them, times when they could simply be William and Catherine, not the future king and queen. Catherine mentioned that several of their friends would be attending the polo match, including couples who had supported them through their courtship years and early marriage. William smiled at this, remembering how Catherine had initially been nervous about the polo crowd, worried she might not fit into his sporting world. Now, years later, she was as comfortable at polo events as she was at state dinners, having found her own place within his passions while maintaining her individual interests. Their protection officers briefed them on the day's schedule and security arrangements. The Charity Polo Cup would be more relaxed than most royal events, with opportunities for William and Catherine to mingle freely with supporters and donors. Catherine looked forward to these interactions, knowing that connecting with people who shared their charitable vision was one of the most fulfilling aspects of their public role. As they prepared to leave Kensington Palace, William paused to straighten Catherine's necklace, a simple gesture that spoke to their natural intimacy. She wore the same delicate chain she had chosen for their engagement announcement years ago, and William remembered how nervous they had both been that day compared to how natural their partnership felt now. The drive to the Polo grounds took them through the English countryside, past rolling green fields and traditional villages. Catherine watched William's profile as he looked out the window, noting the anticipation in his expression. She knew he was thinking about the upcoming matches, but also about the people they would meet and the funds they hoped to raise. His competitive spirit was always balanced by his genuine desire to use his platform for good. Their conversation during the drive moved from serious topics about the charities they were supporting to lighter discussions about their friends who would be playing and watching. William mentioned that his polo handicap had improved since last season, and Catherine teased him gently about his competitive streak. These moments of playful banter had always been the foundation of their relationship, even as their public responsibilities had grown more serious. As they approached the Polo grounds, they could see cars already filling the parking areas and people setting up picnic blankets and chairs along the field perimeter. The atmosphere was festive but refined, exactly the kind of event that allowed the royal couple to be more relaxed while still fulfilling their charitable duties. Catherine had attended dozens of William's polo matches over the years, from their early dating days, when she would try to blend into the crowd, to their engagement period when every appearance was scrutinized by media, to now when their attendance together was seen as a natural expression of their shared life and interests. Each phase had brought its own challenges and joys. Their security team had coordinated with event organizers to ensure smooth logistics while maintaining the relaxed atmosphere that made charity polo events special. William and Catherine would have dedicated time to meet with major donors and charity representatives, but they would also be free to enjoy the matches and social aspects of the day. As their car pulled into the grounds, Catherine could see the polo field stretching out before them, marked with white boundaries and goals at each end. Players were already warming up their horses, and the sound of hooves on turf mixed with the chatter of arriving spectators. The sight filled her with anticipation for a day that promised to be both meaningful in its charitable purpose and joyful in its celebration of William's longtime passion. William took her hand as they prepared to step out of the car, a gesture so natural that it happened without thought. This simple touch would be the first of many moments throughout the day when their genuine affection for each other would shine through the formal aspects of their public appearance. Catherine squeezed his hand in return, both of them ready to share not just their time and attention, but their authentic selves with everyone who had come to support the charitable cause. The day ahead promised to be special, though neither William nor Catherine could have predicted just how memorable their display of romance would become, or how their natural affection would capture hearts and headlines around the world. They simply knew they were together, supporting causes they cared about, in a setting where William could pursue his passion while Catherine cheered him on. The perfect recipe for the kind of genuine happiness that no amount of royal protocol could contain or disguise. The moment William and Catherine stepped out of their car at the charity polo grounds, the atmosphere seemed to shift with excitement. Spectators who had been casually chatting and settling into their spots suddenly turned their attention toward the royal couple, but not in the usual formal way that characterized most royal events. Instead, there was a warmth and anticipation in the air, as if everyone present understood they were about to witness something special. Catherine's blue dress caught the morning breeze as she walked beside William toward the registration area, where charity organizers waited to greet them. The choice to wear flowing fabric instead of a more structured outfit proved perfect for the relaxed outdoor setting. As they walked, William naturally placed his hand on the small of her back, a protective and affectionate gesture that photographers captured but that felt completely natural to the couple. The charity organizers had prepared a brief welcome ceremony, but William and Catherine immediately requested to meet the actual beneficiaries first: children from the mental health charity, veterans from the Support Foundation, and young environmental advocates who would benefit from the day's fundraising. This decision to prioritize the people over the protocol set the tone for everything that would follow. A 7-year-old girl named Emma, whose family had been helped by the children's mental health charity, shyly approached Catherine with a hand-drawn picture of a polo player on a horse. Catherine knelt down to Emma's level, accepting the artwork with genuine delight, and asking about the color she had chosen and whether she had ever seen horses in person. William watched this interaction with obvious admiration, seeing once again why Catherine had such a natural gift for connecting with children. Meanwhile, a veteran named James approached William to thank him for supporting organizations that helped former military personnel transition to civilian life. James mentioned that he had served in the same regiment where William had trained, and the two men fell into easy conversation about shared experiences and mutual acquaintances. Catherine noticed how William's entire posture relaxed during these authentic exchanges, his formal public speaking voice replaced by the more natural tone he used with friends. The couple then moved toward the polo fields where players were continuing their warm-up routines. William's teammates waved from across the field, and Catherine could see his excitement building as he anticipated getting on his horse and into the competitive spirit of the matches. She had always loved watching this transformation in him, from the careful, measured public figure to the focused, energetic athlete who thrived on the challenge of the sport. Catherine found her assigned viewing area, a comfortable section with other polo wives and supporters, but she chose to stand rather than sit, wanting to be more engaged with the action. Several of their longtime friends were already there, people who had known William and Catherine since their university days, and who had watched their relationship develop from young romance to mature partnership. Their friend Sophie, whose husband was also playing in the matches, commented on how relaxed and happy Catherine looked. Catherine confided that she always felt more at ease at polo events because the atmosphere was less formal than many royal engagements, and because she genuinely enjoyed watching William do something he was passionate about. These sporting events reminded her of the man she had fallen in love with before titles and protocols had complicated their daily life. As the first match was announced, William jogged over to where Catherine was standing. Instead of a formal goodbye, he reached up to adjust a strand of her hair that had blown across her face, an intimate gesture that seemed to happen without any awareness of the cameras focused on them. Catherine laughed at something he whispered to her, and the sound of her genuine amusement carried across the nearby spectator area. The match began with William's team taking an early aggressive approach. Catherine watched intently as he maneuvered his horse with skill and confidence, calling encouragement that could be heard by nearby spectators. Unlike the controlled applause typical of formal royal events, her support was enthusiastic and natural, the way any woman might cheer for her husband in a competition he cared about. During the first break between periods, William rode his horse directly to the fence near where Catherine was standing. Still mounted, he leaned down to accept the water bottle she offered him, their hands touching as he took it. The gesture was practical but intimate, speaking to years of shared experiences at polo matches and Catherine's understanding of what William needed during competition. A photographer captured the moment when Catherine reached up to wipe a smudge of dirt from William's cheek, both of them laughing at his disheveled appearance after the intense first period of play. The photo would later become one of the most widely shared images of the day, but in the moment it was simply a wife caring for her husband in the most natural way possible. Between matches, William and Catherine walked together around the perimeter of the field, stopping frequently to chat with spectators and donors. During these conversations, Catherine would often touch William's arm when making a point or stand close enough that their shoulders brushed. These subtle physical connections happened constantly and naturally, creating an aura of intimacy even in the public setting. When they encountered a group of young polo enthusiasts who wanted to know about William's horses and equipment, Catherine listened attentively as he explained the sport's intricacies. Her genuine interest in his passion was evident, and several observers noted how she asked thoughtful questions that showed her deep familiarity with the sport and her husband's involvement in it. A couple who had donated significantly to the charity's approach to express their appreciation for William and Catherine's support. During the conversation, William mentioned a recent project Catherine had been working on related to early childhood development, speaking with obvious pride about her expertise and dedication. Catherine, in turn, praised William's environmental initiatives, each of them highlighting the other's accomplishments in a way that felt genuinely supportive rather than performative. As the afternoon progressed, the charitable atmosphere of the event seemed to bring out the best in both William and Catherine. They were more physically affectionate than usual in public, but it felt appropriate to the relaxed setting and the genuine joy they both felt in supporting causes they cared about while enjoying activities they loved. The second match featured more intense competition, and Catherine's involvement as a spectator became even more animated. She clapped enthusiastically when William's team scored and groaned audibly when they missed opportunities. Her emotional investment in his performance was obvious and endearing to other spectators, many of whom commented on how refreshing it was to see such authentic reactions from a royal family member. During another break, William's polo mentor, a veteran player who had taught him advanced techniques, approached Catherine to compliment William's improved playing. Catherine beamed with pride as she listened to the praise, and when William joined them, she immediately shared the positive feedback. The way she celebrated his achievements, both great and small, demonstrated the strong foundation of mutual support that characterized their marriage. As the day continued, word began to spread among the spectators about the remarkable chemistry and affection being displayed by the royal couple. People who attended royal events regularly noted that this was something different, not just dutiful public appearances, but genuine enjoyment and connection. The charitable setting seemed to have liberated them to be more themselves, and everyone present could feel the authentic warmth between them. The combination of the beautiful outdoor setting, the relaxed charitable atmosphere, and William's obvious happiness when playing polo had created perfect conditions for the couple to let their guard down and allow their genuine feelings for each other to show. Neither of them was consciously trying to make a statement about their marriage, but their natural behavior was doing exactly that, creating moments that would be remembered and celebrated long after the polo matches ended. The peak moment of the afternoon came during the final match, when the stakes were highest and William's competitive nature was fully engaged. Catherine had moved to a position closer to the action, wanting to be as near as possible to support him during the most challenging part of the competition. The sun was at its brightest, casting everything in golden light that seemed to highlight every interaction between the royal couple. William's team was trailing by 1 goal as they entered the final period, and Catherine could see the determination in his posture as he prepared for what could be the deciding moments of the match. She had learned over the years to read his competitive moods, understanding when he needed encouragement and when he needed space to focus. This was clearly a moment for encouragement. As William mounted his fresh horse for the final period, he caught Catherine's eye across the field. Without hesitation, she blew him a kiss, a gesture so spontaneous and natural that several spectators audibly sighed with delight. William's responding smile was radiant, transforming his focused game face into an expression of pure joy that reminded everyone watching why they had fallen in love with this particular royal couple. The final period began with intense action, and Catherine found herself gripping the fence rail as she watched William navigate through tight clusters of players and horses. When he gained control of the ball and began a solo run toward the goal, she started cheering his name, her voice rising above the general crowd noise. Other spectators joined in, creating a wave of support that seemed to propel William forward. William scored the tying goal with 3 minutes remaining, and his celebration included pointing directly at Catherine before being mobbed by his teammates. Catherine jumped up and down with excitement, her careful royal composure completely abandoned in favor of authentic joy for her husband's success. The image of her uninhibited celebration would become iconic, representing everything people loved about her genuine personality. During the brief celebration break, William rode over to the fence where Catherine was standing. Still on horseback, he reached down to take her hand, bringing it to his lips for a kiss that lasted several seconds. The gesture was romantic and dramatic, perfect for the moment, and completely authentic to their relationship. Catherine's delighted laughter could be heard throughout the spectator area, and several people were seen wiping away tears at the beauty of the moment. The match continued with one final burst of action, and William's team managed to score the winning goal in the last minute of play. Catherine's victory celebration was even more enthusiastic than before, and she was immediately surrounded by friends and fellow supporters who were almost as excited by her joy as by the victory itself. Her happiness was infectious, spreading through the crowd and creating an atmosphere of shared celebration. As the players dismounted and began their post-game congratulations, William headed straight for Catherine, still covered in dirt and sweat from the intense competition. Instead of waiting for him to clean up, Catherine ran onto the field to meet him, her wedge sandals slipping slightly on the grass as she hurried to reach him. When they met in the middle of the field, William swept her into a spinning hug that lifted her feet off the ground. The embrace lasted longer than any public display of affection they had ever shared, and when William finally set Catherine down, they stayed close together, foreheads touching as they shared a private conversation surrounded by hundreds of people. Whatever William was saying made Catherine laugh, and her hands rested naturally on his chest despite his dusty, sweaty condition. Their friend James, whose own wife had been watching with Catherine, later described the moment as seeing two people who were completely absorbed in each other despite being in a very public setting. The authenticity of their connection was so obvious that even people who had never met them felt moved by witnessing such genuine love and partnership. When the official trophy presentation began, William was called to receive the winning cup on behalf of his team. As he walked toward the presentation area, he turned back to gesture for Catherine to join him. She shook her head initially, indicating that this was his moment, but William insisted, and the crowd began encouraging her as well. Finally, she joined him at the presentation, standing slightly behind him as he accepted the trophy. During his acceptance speech, William thanked the charity organizers, his teammates, and the supporters who had made the day successful. Then, unexpectedly, he turned to acknowledge Catherine specifically, thanking her for her constant support of his polo playing and noting that having her there made every victory more meaningful. Catherine's surprised but pleased reaction to this public acknowledgement was captured by dozens of cameras, her hand moving to her heart in a gesture of genuine emotion. After the formal presentations, the couple mingled with the crowd during the traditional post-match reception. Their behavior continued to charm everyone they encountered. They held hands while walking between conversation groups. William kept his arm around Catherine's waist during photos, and Catherine straightened his collar and brushed her from his shirt throughout the afternoon. A veteran polo photographer who had covered royal events for decades mentioned that he had never seen such natural affection between royal family members in a public setting. The combination of their obvious comfort with each other and their genuine enjoyment of the event created perfect conditions for capturing authentic moments that went far beyond typical royal documentation. During the reception, a little girl approached Catherine with a polo ball she wanted signed. Catherine accepted the ball, but suggested that William should sign it since he was the player. William countered that Catherine should sign it because she had been the most enthusiastic supporter in the crowd. Their playful argument about who should sign the ball delighted everyone within earshot, and they finally compromised by both signing it together, their heads bent close as they wrote their names. As the afternoon began to wind down, William and Catherine found a quiet moment to sit together on a bench overlooking the polo fields. Catherine had removed her shoes and was rubbing her feet, laughing about the challenges of walking on grass in wedge sandals. William took over the task, massaging her feet while they talked quietly about the day's events and the success of the charitable fundraising. This tender moment was photographed from a distance, but the intimacy of the gesture was clear even in the long-range shots. Here was a future king, still dirty from polo competition, caring for his wife's comfort in the most practical and loving way possible. The image would later be described as capturing the essence of their partnership, mutual care and genuine affection expressed through simple, everyday acts of kindness. When it was time for final thank yous and goodbyes, William and Catherine worked as a perfect team, he handling conversations with polo organizers and players while she focused on charity representatives and donors. Yet even while managing separate conversations, they stayed physically connected, hands touching or shoulders brushing as they moved through the crowd together. Their departure from the polo grounds was delayed by their genuine reluctance to leave. Both William and Catherine seemed energized rather than tired by the day's activities, and they lingered to have final conversations with friends and supporters. When they finally walked toward their car, William's arm was around Catherine's shoulders, and she leaned into him as they walked, both of them glowing with the satisfaction of a perfect day spent doing things they loved while supporting causes they cared about. The drive home was filled with animated conversation about the matches, the people they had met, and the funds raised for their chosen charities. But underneath the immediate excitement was something deeper. The recognition that they had shared a day when everything aligned perfectly, when their public duties and private happiness had seamlessly merged into something beautiful that had touched everyone who witnessed it. The impact of William and Catherine's romantic display at the Charity Polo Cup began to unfold before they had even left the grounds. Spectators were already sharing photos and videos on social media, capturing moments of genuine affection that seemed to glow with authenticity. The hashtag for the charity event began trending worldwide, but not just because of the funds raised. People were sharing the images because they represented something rare and beautiful in public life. Sarah Mitchell, a photographer who had attended as a guest rather than professional, found herself with images that perfectly captured the couple's natural chemistry. Her photo of William adjusting Catherine's hair while still mounted on his horse became an instant symbol of romance, shared thousands of times within the first hour after posting. Sarah later described the moment as seeing two people who had temporarily forgotten the world was watching, lost in their own private bubble of affection. The charity organizers were overwhelmed by the immediate response to the event. Donations that typically trickled in over weeks after polo events were pouring in within hours, as people felt inspired not just by the causes, but by witnessing such authentic happiness from the royal couple. The mental health charity for children reported receiving their largest single-day donation total in their organization's history, with donors specifically mentioning being moved by William and Catherine's obvious joy and connection. Television news programs around the world led with footage from the polo match, but the focus was entirely different from typical royal event coverage. Instead of analyzing fashion choices or commenting on protocol, broadcasters were celebrating the genuine love story playing out in public. Royal commentators found themselves using words like heartwarming and authentic instead of their usual formal descriptions of royal duties and obligations. Emma, the 7-year-old who had given Catherine the hand-drawn picture, went home and told her mother that the princess had looked happy like in fairy tales and that she wanted to love someone like the prince and princess love each other when she grew up. Her mother, who had struggled with depression and had been helped by the mental health charity, found herself crying at her daughter's innocent observation about what true love looked like. James, the veteran who had spoken with William about their shared military background, called his wife that evening to tell her about the couple's obvious happiness together. He mentioned that seeing two people so clearly devoted to each other had reminded him why he had worked so hard to rebuild his own marriage after his difficult transition from military to civilian life. The polo event had accidentally become a celebration not just of charity and sport, but of love itself. Back at Kensington Palace that evening, William and Catherine were scrolling through the early coverage of their day, amazed by the response their natural behavior was generating. They had simply been themselves, enjoying each other's company, and supporting causes they cared about, but the public reaction suggested they had somehow provided something people were hungry for, evidence that authentic love could survive in the spotlight. Catherine's private secretary called to inform them that interview requests were already coming in from major publications wanting to discuss their relationship and what had made the Polo event so special. William and Catherine agreed that they would not give specific interviews about their marriage, but they were pleased that their genuine happiness had been so visible and had clearly touched people's hearts. Their children were spending the evening with their grandparents, so William and Catherine had rare private time to process the day together. Over dinner, they talked about how natural it had felt to be affectionate in public, how the charitable atmosphere and William's love of polo had created perfect conditions for them to simply be themselves without the usual constraints of formal royal behavior. Catherine mentioned that she had felt completely comfortable throughout the day, never once worrying about how her reactions or behavior would be perceived. William agreed, noting that when he was playing polo and she was cheering him on, it felt exactly like the early days of their relationship, when they were just university students enjoying each other's company without any royal complications. The couple's longtime friend Sophie called that evening to congratulate them on what she called the most beautiful display of marriage she had ever witnessed. Sophie mentioned that everyone at the polo event had felt privileged to see such genuine love, and that the experience had reminded all the couples present why they had fallen in love with their own partners. The polo event had accidentally become a celebration of love in all its forms. Royal biographers who had covered William and Catherine for years found themselves reassessing their understanding of the couple's relationship. The polo event had revealed depths of affection and natural chemistry that had been carefully managed in previous public appearances. Several writers began working on articles exploring how the couple had managed to maintain such obvious love despite the pressures and protocols of royal life. International media coverage focused on the contrast between William and Catherine's natural romance and the more reserved public behavior typically associated with the British royal family. European publications praised their modern approach to royal marriage, while American outlets celebrated their fairy tale-like happiness. The polo event had accidentally become a diplomatic triumph, showing the world a royal couple who embodied both tradition and contemporary values. The Polo Club received hundreds of inquiries about future charity events, with people specifically asking if William and Catherine would attend. The club's manager noted that no royal event had ever generated such enthusiastic follow-up interest, and that the waiting list for the next charity polo match had grown to several hundred people within 24 hours of the photos being published. Fashion analysts noted that Catherine's choice to wear a flowing dress and comfortable shoes had been perfect for the setting, allowing her to move naturally and authentically throughout the day. Her styling choices were being praised not for their formality or expense, but for their appropriateness and the way they had enabled rather than restricted her natural behavior. Social media influencers who specialized in relationship content began analyzing the polo photos, pointing out specific moments that demonstrated healthy partnership dynamics. Catherine's enthusiastic support of William's performance, William's immediate inclusion of Catherine in his victory celebration, and their constant small gestures of affection were being used as examples of how couples could maintain romance and partnership in their daily lives. The three charities supported by the polo event each reported significant increases in volunteer applications and ongoing donations in the weeks following the event. Representatives from all three organizations noted that potential supporters mentioned being inspired by William and Catherine's obvious commitment to the causes and their joy in supporting charitable work together. Wedding planners reported increased interest in outdoor, relaxed ceremony styles, with couples specifically mentioning wanting their weddings to capture the same natural happiness and authentic love that had been visible at the polo event. The royal couple had accidentally influenced wedding trends simply by being genuinely happy together in a beautiful outdoor setting. Child psychologists praised the positive example William and Catherine had set for young people, showing that lasting love was based on mutual support shared interests, and genuine affection rather than grand romantic gestures or dramatic expressions. Several therapists mentioned using the Polo photos as examples when working with couples on building stronger emotional connections. As the days passed, the Polo event continued to resonate with people around the world. The images and videos from that afternoon had captured something universal about love and partnership that transcended royal titles or celebrity status. William and Catherine had simply been two people who loved each other, supporting each other, and enjoying life together. But in doing so, they had provided hope and inspiration to countless others. The lasting impact of the Charity Polo Cup would extend far beyond the funds raised or the media coverage generated. The event had demonstrated that authentic love could not only survive in the public eye, but could actually thrive when given the right conditions. William and Catherine had shown the world what genuine partnership looked like, and people everywhere were inspired to seek that same authenticity in their own relationships. 6 months after the Charity Polo Cup, the impact of William and Catherine's romantic display continued to reverberate through both their personal lives and their public roles. The event had become a turning point, not just in public perception of their marriage, but in how they approached their royal duties together. The natural affection they had shown that afternoon had opened a door to a more authentic way of being royal, one that honored both tradition and genuine human connection. The anniversary of the Polo event was marked by the 3 supported charities releasing a joint report showing unprecedented growth in donations, volunteer participation, and public awareness. The Children's Mental Health Charity had expanded their services to 3 new regions, directly citing the funding boost from the Polo event and subsequent donations inspired by the coverage. The environmental organization had launched a new youth education program, while the Veterans Foundation had opened 2 additional support centers. Catherine had begun incorporating more relaxed, outdoor events into her official calendar, recognizing how the natural setting of the polo match had allowed for more authentic connections with the people they served. She established a new initiative called Gardens of Support, organizing charity events in beautiful outdoor locations where formal protocols could be relaxed in favor of genuine human interaction. William found that his polo playing had taken on new meaning after the charity event. Requests for him to participate in charitable polo matches increased dramatically, and he began using these events as a regular platform for the causes he and Catherine cared most about. The polo community rallied around this charitable focus, with players and organizers competing to host events that might recreate the magical atmosphere of that original afternoon. Their children had been told about the special day when their parents had shown the world how much they loved each other. George, Charlotte, and Louis didn't fully understand the global impact, but they grasped that their parents had been very happy together and that this happiness had helped many people. Catherine often used this story when talking to her children about the importance of supporting each other and finding joy in helping others. The couple's approach to other public engagements had evolved as well. While maintaining appropriate royal decorum, they allowed more moments of natural affection to show through. A touch on the shoulder during speeches, shared laughter during formal receptions, and small gestures of support during challenging moments. The public response was consistently positive, with people appreciating the humanity behind the royal roles. Royal historians began documenting the polo event as a significant moment in the modernization of the British monarchy. The afternoon had demonstrated that the royal family could maintain dignity and tradition while still showing authentic human emotion and connection. Several academic papers were written analyzing how William and Catherine had successfully balanced personal authenticity with public duty. Marriage counselors reported that couples frequently brought up the polo photos during therapy sessions, using them as examples of the kind of supportive, affectionate partnership they wanted to build. The images had become symbols of healthy marriage dynamics, mutual support, shared celebration, and maintained romance despite the pressures of busy adult lives. A year after the event, the Polo Club commissioned a professional documentary about the charity match and its aftermath. Interviews with spectators, charity representatives, and Polo community members revealed the lasting impact of witnessing such genuine love in action. Many people described the day as having restored their faith in both romance and the possibility of maintaining authentic relationships under public scrutiny. Catherine's fashion choices from the Polo event influenced designers and style counselors to emphasize comfort and appropriateness over rigid formality. The flowing blue dress and wedge sandals had enabled her natural movement and authentic responses, leading to a broader conversation about how clothing choices could either support or hinder genuine human connection. The couple began receiving wedding invitations from couples who specifically mentioned being inspired by their Polo Day romance. These couples wanted to incorporate elements of outdoor celebration, charitable giving, and authentic emotion into their own ceremonies. William and Catherine were touched to learn that their happiness had inspired others to prioritize genuine connection in their relationships. International diplomatic relationships benefited from the positive global response to the Polo event. The images of William and Catherine's happiness had presented Britain in an overwhelmingly positive light, with foreign officials commenting on how refreshing it was to see leadership that combined duty with joy. The soft diplomatic power of their authentic love story proved remarkably effective. Educational institutions began using the Polo event as a case study in authentic leadership and public service. Business schools analyzed how the couple's genuine partnership had enhanced their effectiveness as representatives of their causes, while communication programs studied how authentic emotion could be more powerful than scripted presentations. The Polo grounds where the charity match had taken place became a destination for couples wanting to visit the site of such a famous display of romance. The club began offering special tours and hosting anniversary events for couples, creating an ongoing charitable fundraising opportunity inspired by William and Catherine's original example. Photography students and professionals studied the images from the Polo event to understand how authentic moments could be captured without being staged. Several photography workshops were developed around the concept of documenting genuine emotion and connection, using the Polo photos as examples of perfect timing and authentic subject matter. 2 years later, William gave a speech at a Marriage Foundation dinner, where he reflected on how the Polo event had taught him and Catherine that their authentic love for each other could be one of their greatest gifts to the public. He mentioned that sharing genuine happiness had proven more valuable than any carefully managed public appearance, and that they had learned to trust their natural affection as a source of strength rather than something to be controlled. Catherine established a scholarship program for young people interested in charitable work, funded by ongoing donations that continued to pour in from people inspired by the Polo event. The scholarship was specifically designed for students who demonstrated both academic merit and genuine passion for helping others, reflecting the values that had made the Polo afternoon so meaningful. The couple's relationship with the media evolved following the Polo event. As journalists and photographers recognized that their most compelling coverage came from capturing genuine moments rather than stage photo opportunities. This led to more collaborative relationships with press representatives who understood that authentic emotion created better stories than forced formal poses. As William and Catherine's children grew older, they began to understand more fully what their parents had accomplished that Polo afternoon. They learned that by simply being happy together and caring about helping others, their parents had given people around the world hope about love, partnership, and the possibility of maintaining authenticity while serving others. The Charity Polo Cup had become more than just a successful fundraising event or a romantic moment captured by cameras. It had demonstrated that authentic love and genuine partnership could not only survive in the public eye, but could actually inspire and uplift others. William and Catherine had shown that being truly themselves together was not just personally fulfilling, but was actually their most powerful way of serving others. Years later, when historians looked back on William and Catherine's public service. The Charity Polo Cup would be remembered as the moment when they fully integrated their private happiness with their public purpose. The afternoon had proven that duty and joy could coexist, that service and love could enhance each other, and that sometimes the most profound impact came not from grand gestures, but from simply allowing genuine happiness to shine in the presence of others. The legacy of that golden afternoon continued to ripple outward, inspiring couples to prioritize authentic connection, encouraging public figures to balance duty with genuine emotion, and reminding everyone that true love, when shared openly and joyfully, had the power to touch hearts and change lives far beyond what anyone could imagine. William and Catherine had given the world a gift that afternoon. Not just successful charitable fundraising, but proof that fairy tale love could be real, lasting, and beautifully authentic.